Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Another stage of the Intelligentsia Cup. This is stage 6, the West Dundee Criterium. And this is a tough one, guys. Take a look at the course map. We have a lot of technical corners, and then we have what's called the legbreaker hill. So you really have to ride efficient, ride smart, and I got some good tips for you. But before we dive into it, let me just start by saying this course was a little bit too hard for me. More specifically, it was too hard for me against all these really strong guys who show up to Intelligentsia. So I was expecting to get dropped early on, but I used some of these tips, and I managed to hang in there until the end and managed to pull off a decent result. So let's start by talking about probably the biggest feature of this course, which is the legbreaker hill. It's 150 to 200 meters, I want to say, probably like 15%. So it's really steep, but it's not very long, which means people just go absolutely crazy up it. And there's really no easy way to get up the hill, right? 15% is 15%. But you can save yourself a lot of energy by choosing not to attack or move up on the hill, because the difference between pushing like 600-700 watts and pushing like 1,000 watts, which is what it's going to take to move up, is huge. And you will just blow up. Like, people were blowing up really early on in this race because they were trying to either attack or move up on the hill, and it's just not a good idea, especially if you're trying to save as much energy as possible. So this applies to any race with a hill, criterium, road race, whatever. What's the best way to approach it, right? Well, if you're coming into the bottom of the hill, carry as much speed as possible, because momentum. Like, you just want to come into the bottom with a ton of speed, and that means you have to take, in this case, this corner at the bottom of the hill with speed, and then just continue on the power, and you'll find that you'll be tackling the first part of the climb without having to do too big of an effort. And then when you're actually on the climb, you should seriously consider sagging, which means starting up towards the front of the group and then intentionally kind of dropping back, letting people pass you. And the obvious drawback to that is you're losing position, but at the same time, you're not having to do this huge spike in power. It's a pretty common technique to save energy, especially if you're a bigger guy, over an otherwise very difficult climb. And then my approach is I found myself doing a lot of just holding the wheel, holding that little bit of draft that you still get. Definitely not doing any passing on the climb, because that just requires so much energy. And the next big feature of this course, I'd say, is the back section. 6 90-degree corners, all in really quick succession, and probably not a good idea to move up in that section also, and here's why. The corners, they're so close to each other that by the time you're exiting one, you're already starting to set up for the next corner. So it's going to take this sprint-like effort to move up just 1 or 2 wheels in between the corners. And if you're trying to have a low variability index, in other words, a really smooth effort throughout the course, which is efficient, then doing a sprint just to move up 1 or 2 places is not a good idea. And plus, if you've just done a sprint just to pass a couple of people, and then you're coming right into a corner after that, you're probably going to have to squeeze a bunch of brakes to make it safely through the corner and then re-accelerate. None of it makes sense. So not a good idea to pass on the back technical section of this course. So then where do you move up on this course? Well, pretty early on, I identified 2 places where I could pretty much move up for free. And let's talk about the first one, which is the top of the hill coming into corner 1. All those guys who cooked themselves by attacking up the hill are now exhausted and slowing down into the approach for corner 1. And if you time it right, you can just carry all that momentum over the top of the hill through the start-finish flat, and you'll be able to pass a bunch of guys right before the corner. And notice how I said before the corner, because the timing is really important here. If you're trying to, if you wait a little too long and you're trying to pass a bunch of guys like into the corner, then it's really unsafe. Number 1, number 2, it's not going to work. Like, you're just going to get cut off, and you're going to have to squeeze a whole bunch of brakes, slow down, re-accelerate. It's bad for everybody. That's called dive bombing. Nobody likes dive bombing. Don't be a dive bomber.
Turn around. And of course, there's dive bombers. Like, it's this hairpin, just like last year. These people are just going to ride super hard into this corner. Jesus, take the wheel, and this guy crashes, because that's what happens on this course. But if you do get the timing right, you can come through the start-finish, carry the speed over the top of the hill. And like I said, a lot of those guys who were doing a really hard effort up and over the hill, they're now slowing down a little prematurely before the corner. You can carry your speed, pass a whole bunch of guys, and then take the corner, take a good line, and pretty much for free, like 0 watts. All right, so the second place, and by far my favorite place to move up on this course, was at the bottom of the hill, coming into the sharp right-hander before the legbreaker.
Look, I just passed like 14 guys without taking any risks, without screwing up anybody's line, without dive bombing, and I probably could have passed another 5 or 6 if I wanted to force the issue, but like I said before, the timing is really important. You don't want to be passing people or cutting people off through a corner. So when you're making passes, either approaching or coming through a corner, just make sure you identify those moments when there's an actual space for you to slot into, so you can avoid using your brakes and potentially crashing. Alright, so let's talk about how this race played out. Early on, before I turned the cameras on, I was towards the back, and that was intentional. I was tail gunning. I was really not happy with the way people were taking this technical back section of the course. People were taking bad lines. I found myself doing all of these unnecessary accelerations through corners, and I just slowly moved towards the back. That way I was able to take all of the corners exactly how I wanted to. I was able to stay really consistent and stay really efficient, but it didn't take me long to realize this is probably a bad idea. Remember, guys, we're on the 6th stage of the Intelligentsia Cup. Fatigue is really setting in, and especially on a hard course like this, people were getting gapped off, and when you're gapped and you're really tired, you get desperate. And when you get desperate, you take really risky lines, and that's when the crashes started. I ended up getting caught behind this one. There were a handful of other crashes, so this was just more motivation for me to get up towards the front and stay out of trouble. Probably halfway through the race, maybe even less than halfway through the race, we were down to like 30 or 40 riders. Maybe more, 40 or 50 riders, but less than half of what we started with. So that's just a testament to how difficult this race was and how staying at the back was a bad idea. So I wasn't back there for very long. Ended up trying to move up towards the front and get into position for a potential field sprint. Okay, so here we are with about a lap and a half to go, and I made so many mistakes at the end of this race, you guys. This is going to be like a what not to do situation. And first thing you probably notice is I'm way out of position. With a lap and a half to go, I should be like 20 more wheels up. You can see these Project Echelon riders in the light blue on my left and my right, both peeling off. They've done their job. They're keeping it fast for their team leader, who is probably in the top 5 right now. I need to get up there in the mix. This is not a race-winning position right here, but hey, after a really hard-fought technical race like this with a hill, there can be a lot of shuffling that goes on in the last couple of laps. So there's still time for me. I just need to be really smart here in the last couple of laps. The first thing I need to do is take a good corner here at the bottom, like I talked about. Carry my speed. Let's see, put a little surge there. I'm going to carry as much speed as I can into the bottom of this hill. Take a good corner there. Outside, inside, outside, as they say. Yeah, I just need to close this gap down, and I need to not absolutely kill myself on this hill. But then again, this is the second to last time going up this hill, so it's either now or never. You can see this is what I'm talking about. See how it's all fanned out? Riders peeling off, riders slowing down, and I can just move up to the front right now. Now what I want you to do is keep an eye on this rider right here on the green bike. And this is such a lost opportunity right here. I should be on his wheel, I should be sprinting. Because remember, guys, this is another area identified as a good chance to move up. So lost opportunity number 1. Come on, Jeff, practice as you preach. I should have been sprinting through there. Instead, I'm squeezing brakes into corner 1, getting swarmed, and losing all of my momentum. It's just so hard to watch. Now check this out. I'm going to pause it right here. Now check out how much further up the road he is. I mean, a second ago, he was 3 bike lengths in front of me, something like that. And now he is in a race-winning position, 4th wheel, maybe 5th wheel, and I'm back here cornering like a Cat 5, and oh, it gets worse, guys. Check this out. Instead of closing that gap down in front of me, I allow the Skyline rider to pinch me off right there. So that means I lose a couple more spots. And just in case it's not bad enough, I take this crappy outside line right here and lose another wheel. So now I just need to sprint up the inside right here. I need to sprint immediately. I at least need to follow orange socks here. And I just need to go because you can see I'm still like 20th wheel and I am not going to win from here. You can see the difference it makes. One small effort at the top of the hill back there at the start finish with 1 lap to go would have made the difference between back here just struggling to gain like 1 wheel at a time versus sitting pretty like 5th wheel coming into the downhill where passing is very difficult. So you guys can see how important it is to choose the times you move up wisely, and now I am just suffering. I mean, I'm only doing 350, 400 watts back there, but still just really need to be moving up right now. Can't stress that enough. Even if that's my sprint, I need to move up right now. And to make matters worse, there's a crash. Boom. And I feathered brakes a little bit. I swung wide. Back on the power, but you can see they're already coming through the corner, the front riders. And even though I take a good line through here and carry as much of my speed as possible through that corner, it is just too little too late. I am not going to make up 15 places on this hill, like obviously. So Still put my head down, still pop off everything I have left on this sprint, but let's be honest here, there isn't much left. As my friend Bob says, there's just no more coal I can shovel into the furnace. That's it. And pass a couple more guys at the line, but I think it was 18th place is what I ended up with. One interesting thing of note is look at my heart rate. 168, 169 beats per minute at the end of a really hard crit like that. I mean, really sign of fatigue is I would usually be up at 185-ish, 184-ish at the end of a crit. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hit subscribe if you like this content, and I'm looking forward to posting the next couple of races. A lot of interesting action coming up. Later.